The AMD Ryzen 5 7600X processor can theoretically be converted to Ryzen 9 7900X. All chiplets are in place. Marketing is a great thing, because it allows you to create different product segments with minimal costs. The same product can be sold at completely different price tags, for example, by blocking some of the functions of a more expensive product. This segregation is most pronounced in the processor manufacturing industry. Experienced overclockers remember how the hidden cores and cache of the Phenom 2 and Athlon 2 processors were successfully unlocked, just by activating certain options in the BIOS. The olds know how to get free conveys on the NVIDIA GeForce 6800. It seems that there is a chance to unlock 6 additional cores from the AMD Ryzen 5 7600X processor. Overclocker from Germany Roman Hartung has scalped the 6-core Ryzen 5 7600X generation Raphael. The new AMD processor's heat spreader is attached to the substrate at just 8 points, and the solder-like thermal interface is very soft and pliable. To Roman's surprise, both chiplets with cores were found on the Ryzen 5 7600X substrate. In this respect, the AMD Ryzen 5 7600X is no different from the Ryzen 9 7900X. Of course, the second CCD module turned out to be disabled. Only one crystal was significantly heated in the thermal imager. Most likely, they get Ryzen 5 from Ryzen 9 in production, when one of the CCDs does not pass the tests. Apparently, chiplets are not tested separately, but the processor is already fully tested, as they say in the assembly. A faulty CCD filled with cop mount is not soldered out later. This is an unnecessary and costly operation, and you can damage serviceable CPU components. The whole point is that a disabled chiplet may be completely serviceable, but it does not keep the factory frequencies. And at lower frequencies working perfectly fine. Over time, when debugging production, there will be less scrap, and then completely healthy chiplets will be put under the knife. The user will buy a wolf in sheep's clothing without even knowing it. The whole question is how the manufacturer turns off the extra crystal. Very often, the desired processor model is set by straps on the substrate, the position or rating of SMD components. Depending on which the straps are set, the CPU ID and its definition by the motherboard BIOS changes. Accordingly, if Ryzen 5 has the same straps as Ryzen 9, you can get a full-fledged 12-core processor, of course, provided that the second CCD is fully operational. The second method is to replace the processor ID in the BIOS itself. To do this, you need to dig up the BIOS and make some changes there, which means you need to have its source code, otherwise you will have to wait for mercy from the motherboard manufacturers. Also, the second chiplet can be turned off in a cruder way, for example, by cutting the paths going to it with a laser. This place will then be filled with varnish or compound and there will be practically no traces on the substrate. In general, the method of disabling cores should be as cheap as possible, otherwise the production cost of Ryzen 5 will exceed Ryzen 9. Wealthy enthusiasts just need to scalp both processors and look for differences on their substrates, and then it's a matter of technology. It is quite possible that in the future 12 nuclear mutants from Ryzen 5 will be obtained, and maybe not. The calculations are purely theoretical. However, users still have a very high chance of a free upgrade,